I think we got a good crew in here today. So welcome to the March edition of the SEO Juice. We are so happy to have you here. While you're all trickling in, we are going to kick off with our 3 local SEO truths and a myth. And then we'll open it up to you guys to determine what you think is the myth. So the first one is, if you're getting fewer Google Business Profile impressions, there's an issue with your local SEO. Second, what you link to your menu CTA to, what you link your menu CTA to on your Google, sorry, I'm reading off of the question thing. I think we have a typo. Link your menu CTA to on your Google Business Profile matters. So what you link to matters. Apple considers delegated listings more authoritative than listings that have not been delegated. And then the last one is, Google indexes Q&A content from sites like Yelp and TripAdvisor.
And apologies for the typo on my part. That's
no, what you linked to. Oh, that is a typo. Yep, Mike's
yeah,
fault.
I put 2 in there twice. I think I updated the wording so they were all in the same tense, sort of, and I forgot to remove some things. So
no, you're fine. It just got me tripped up live.
Yeah.
Also, I'm laughing. Someone in the chat said, I still have to say please and thank you to AI when asking for things. I do too. I get paranoid. I'm like, please give me this.
Yeah, I'm always like, could you blah blah blah, or please, instead of just do it.
Yeah, I don't have it in me.
Well, you got to be polite to the robots, just so you don't
listen. You never know.
Hasten the a robot uprising.
I've seen one too many Will Smith movies. Okay, I don't trust him. All right. So while you guys are answering those, we will introduce ourselves. So I am Casey McBride. I am SOCi's Director of Customer Experience. With that, I have the pleasure of working with so many of our customers and managing a team of subject matter experts that really, our ultimate goal is to just help you understand what's going on in the industry, help you develop strategies to make your business more successful. So I'm joined here by my SEO counterpart, Mike Snow, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Sure. Hi. Yes, thank you, Casey. I'm Mike Snow, the local SEO enablement manager, and as I like to say, SEO evangelist, because SEO never ends. As Casey says, these meetings, if you haven't, or these webinars, if you haven't joined them before, is really about talking about what's going on in search, but also breaking it down in a really simple, easy to follow way. We think SEO doesn't need to be as complicated as it is. Yes, it's hard. Yes, there's a lot of work behind it, but the idea of it doesn't need to be as complicated. So we really do try and simplify things as much as possible and give you just the juiciest bits that you can then take away and do something with.
How many puns can we get into our webinar today?
I think we need a little counter, like a little ding ding every time it happens.
Yeah, we really do.
So should we look at the results?
Let's check out the results. So kicking us off, yeah, so it looks like, interesting split. So it looks like the most answers for where we think the myth lies is, if you're getting fewer GBP impressions, there's an issue with SEO. And then the other one is around delegated listings. Interesting split.
Okay, well, let's jump in and we'll look at the answers, shall we?
Absolutely. So this first one, if you're getting fewer impressions, there's an issue with your local SEO. That is a myth. There's a lot more happening in the world of search. And it is not really fair to your program to just make assumptions that if you're getting fewer impressions that you're doing something wrong. Sometimes there are other things happening in the ecosystem of search that are impacting the demand associated with some of the queries that you're going after. And actually, we're going to dive a lot into how to diagnose some things happening with your performance from the query perspective in today's presentation. So this was the myth. Mike, walk us through the truths.
All right. So what you link to your menu CTA on your GBP, Google Business Profile matters. This is true, at least according to Google. I've been putting together some content guidelines. Google has a bunch of pages, but they're all spread all over the place. They're not really organized well. So one of the content guideline pages I put together was on menus. And one of the things that I was surprised to find is Google says that menu URLs can't be direct links to third-party ordering or delivery services. So ultimately what I got from this is your menu URL should point to a menu. The idea is Google wants customers to be able to easily go find the menu. It shouldn't go to an ordering system. That's what the order button's for. And to be completely frank, it drives me nuts when I'm trying to order from a restaurant and I can't just go to a menu. I have to go through an ordering system and you have to click individual things to find out about it. I know it's a bad user experience, at least in my mind, but I think
I
Google
agree.
sees the same thing.
Well, I think it's a bad user experience too, because sometimes when you go to like a DoorDash, for example, if it's linking to a DoorDash, sometimes those menus are relatively incomplete, meaning that I know a lot of restaurants actually will disable even like certain menu options or disable like certain add-ons or features, things like that. And so it's a much better experience to be able to go to the website and just see the menu for yourself and understand what your options are. Because also not everybody who wants to click on your menu is necessarily trying to order, right? Like
Mm.
they want to see what you have to offer. It also just makes it easier for Google to crawl.
I've
And
gotten turned off from ordering from a new few places because of that, where I just want to see what they have before I get into that whole complex
right,
task of navigating an order system. So,
right. I also might just want to call for pickup, right? Like I might not want to just go through the app. Like, sometimes it's easier to just look at a menu and call. So
yep.
definitely a better customer experience.
Yeah, and it's something that I definitely want to test. I've seen there's some people that are linking this differently, and I want to look into this more to see if when we change that, if
Mhm.
there's any sort of benefit from a impression standpoint. Like so, stay tuned.
Love a good test.
Um, Next one. You want to take this one, Casey?
Yeah, Apple considers delegated listings more authoritative than listings that are not delegated. This is true. Apple prefers your locations to be delegated. It makes it easier to trust your business. Think of it as kind of like the authority signal for Apple listings. So it's very important to delegate your listings.
Yeah, and this is for those who have been with us since the beginning. This was from our, I think, our second webinar. We talked about what an Apple wants, and Apple told us directly last year, beginning of the year, that they give preference to delegated listings. So
Yep.
for what it is. And lastly, this is an interesting one. Google indexes Q&A content from sites like Yelp and TripAdvisor. This is true. This is something that I discovered last week, and as soon as I discovered, it disappeared again, and it was just a very interesting look under the hood. So I'm going to take a minute and show you kind of
Hey,
how.
Mike, before we jump too far into this, because I know that this, yep, so it looks like we got the question in Q&A and we got it in our webinar chat. Can you help us define what a delegated listing?
Oh, yes. So a delegated listing, what Google defines is you have delegated the management of that listing to a listings provider, essentially. So if you're working with a provider like us, you can tell Google, yeah, you can tell Google essentially, hey, SOCi is managing our listings for us. And so the data that SOCi is pushing to you is the 100% accurate data. This is the data you should follow. You shouldn't take suggestions from anyone else. That's one thing that delegation does that Google doesn't. When you claim a Google listing, Google can still change your data on you from multiple sources. Apple has said if you've delegated the listing, they are going to take that information coming from a provider like us as the source of truth.
Yep.
So, did you want to add anything to that? I think that was.
No, I think it's definitely a benefit from working with third-party providers like SOCi to manage listings on your behalf, just being able to create that authority and where the data source is coming from. And I think Apple has been really smart to make this move. Because like Mike mentioned, instead of Google, where even if you send them data, they are still taking suggestions from the wild and making adaptations. Apple really favors the fact that this is a trusted data source and that what we're sending is truth. So definitely take advantage.
One caveat to this, the way it's set up is very brand centric.
Mhm.
So if you have a business where, let's say property, I think has a lot of problems because individual properties have their own names. Google is looking delegation as a brand issue. We've been talking to them about this because we have customers that do have that issue. But currently brands have a much easier time getting delegated.
Makes sense.
Um,
Great.
cus- I believe I saw that. So another question: can our customer service rep help getting set up with Apple delegation? Started the process about a
Uh,
year ago. I got it.
Customer service rep, I'm assuming you mean on like the SOCi side, like our support team, or do you mean like the app? Yes. Okay. So yeah, that would be in reach out directly to your account manager who can work with our listing support team, and we will work through the steps with you on how to make that delegation happen.
it is on Apple's plate to do these things, and sometimes they do get behind. For those who don't know, before Apple went digital about a year ago, which is amazing and crazy, they just worked off of spreadsheets and it would take forever to get things done. So I know that they might be getting ahead of themselves and slowing things down, but it's absolutely worth the headache that it might cause.
Yeah, but our team can at least help point you in the direction. We can kind of work with you to try and reinforce that these things can happen. So, yeah.
All right, moving to this one again. So Google is indexing Q&A content from sites like Yelp and TripAdvisor. This was fascinating to me. I'm going to give you a little bit of just a story on this. About a year ago, I discovered this this about this place feature, and it was appearing on businesses that had an experience. So food and beverage customers, gyms, trampoline parks, things like that. I thought this was really interesting because it gave a experiential view of the business using photos and reviews from customers. And over the months, over the past year, I've seen it evolve over time. I think I've seen it evolve in a bunch of different ways where, oops, go back one, sorry. Go back. Well, it's showing up again. I discovered this about a week ago. Previously, it was, let me stop this. Previously, it was only showing up in direct search on mobile. I discovered it just in the local pack on desktop this time. But what's interesting about it are the additional sources. That's what I'm trying to get to here, sorry. If you'll notice, instead of just pictures and reviews, we have things like Reddit. If we go a little farther, oops, we have things like, again, more Google, and when I hit parking, that's taken from Google. Here we go. Notice Yelp, and when I click on that Yelp listing, or Yelp link, it goes to Yelp Q&A. So Google is paying attention to these things, and it's paying attention to a lot of different things. So, of course, pardon the trials and troubles of
Embedded videos into
yeah, I guess
they
embedded
really wanted
videos are
to
not the
force you.
best to be trying to do. So,
Oh,
come on, go past it. There we go. One more.
it does not want to move on.
It will. It's like, oh, here we go. There we go. Okay. So, come on. So what we're seeing is so we got Yelp. I found some forums, things like Geek Therapy Forum, more Reddit, TripAdvisor, Quora. I even found things like Boing Boing, a lot of uh, if the forum was related to the industry, those would show up. We also saw things like review sites. So this is from a restaurant where we're getting a review of the restaurant that's appearing. So a link to that to Talk Irvine. And then also these little fork and knife things, which have to do with menu highlights. So Google is indexing a lot of things, customer reviews, photos, and not just user anymore, but owner uploaded photos. So I saw a couple of those. Again, forums, Q&A, menu highlights, industry review sites. Bottom line here is it disappeared right away, so I didn't get a chance to do a lot of research on this, but I'm looking for it again. It's interesting because it tells us what Google is indexing, right? These things are important if Google is paying attention and it is associating them with your listing. And so fascinated by this. I could spend all day talking about it, but I'm going to pause this and probably talk about it in a future session. But I think it's, again, something to keep in mind and pay attention to your Q&A everywhere. Pay attention to message boards that might be talking about you. Pay attention to reviews about your business. Get involved in local message boards, whatever that is.
Yeah, Kristen pointed out, she was like, did that say 13 years ago? It was like Google
Oh,
does.
yes. Thank you for pointing that out. I noticed some of that content is really old, so Google is hungry for new content.
All right. Well, thank you for kicking us off, Mike, with some very interesting insights. Today, we are going to jump into some industry news, just some of the latest in what's happening with local search, what it means to your business. We're going to get into some prescriptive SEO, like I spoke about earlier, really digging into how Google Keyword Insights can highlight certain shifts, uncover opportunities, things like that. We're going to talk a lot about social media links in your Google business profile and some of the exciting things that we're uncovering in that optimization. And then just what we're seeing out and about. So what kind of new attributes and features are available to you? And then as always, we have our Caught in the Wild section where we're finding, well, really it's Mike Snow just digging through and finding some really either bizarre or unique or interesting things that it seems like Google is testing and trialing that we just happened to catch. So jumping right into industry news.
All right. Thanks. So this first one, is this me? Yeah. This first one is just interesting. There's been a lot of Google news recently about reviews being removed, about Google getting rid of spam reviews, and you might get the impression that Google does not want businesses to solicit reviews, and that's absolutely not the case. And a few weeks back, people started noticing Google in their Get More Reviews button that appears in the review section natively in Google Business Manager. In addition to the link that's appeared there, a QR code. And this makes things much easier to get reviews. When I'm talking to customers and they're asking what they can do to better optimize their listings, the one thing that I always say is get more. I mean, I say a lot of things, but the one that's always there is get more reviews. No matter how many reviews you have, you should be getting more, right? That helps you rank wider. It helps you rank higher. Even if let's say you have a 4.1, if you have 1,000 more reviews than your competitor that has a 4.9, you're probably going to still rank better than them because there's a lot more interaction and a lot more people giving feedback and a lot more keywords from that. And when they ask how, I say the word QR codes a lot, right? Like make it as easy as possible for your customers to leave that review.
Uh,
And so Google's doing it. And oh, go ahead.
Somebody asked, like, what are the benefits of using a Google provided QR code versus building your own? I would think there probably isn't much of a difference. I think it just depends on where it's pointing. I know the Google QR code probably makes it a little bit easier to be more direct to the business listing. But if you build your own QR code, you can also make that point to the same exact place. So
Exactly.
wherever you source the QR code doesn't matter. Where you're sourcing it to is what I would say matters more.
Yeah. And for those who wear QR codes like, oh, I don't know how to do that, it's taking a while, this just gives a great, really easy way to do that. Unfortunately, it's not pushing it via API, so we can't kind of pull these out in bulk. It's an individual thing, but it is really great news, and it shows Google's kind of, focusing on reviews more and really wanting to get more to understand more about your business. So.
We also got a question on attach tracking to the Google QR code to see which is more responsive. So you could, but if you are linking to the Google listing, which I imagine this is where this is linking to, so that you, like the Google one would probably generate directly to the business, right? And then you go to the Google business profile and you leave a review. That tracking code, if you added it to the end of that URL string, there wouldn't be anywhere to grab it because it's on the Google interface side. Whereas if you were linking to like a first party source, like your own website or something like that, you would be able to track a parameter, but applying a parameter to like a link like this, there's nowhere to capture it, if that makes sense, because it just goes to Google. So it's a little bit different. If you were linking to something that was facing your own website, yes, you could measure it, but the whole point of this is to link to the Google profile.
All right. Moving on.
Yeah. So this one was interesting. Google now provides video verification assistance. So we've been reporting a lot, gosh, maybe in the past 5-6 months, I would say, where Google has been really cracking down on re-verifications for honestly very simple updates, like things to your categories, phone number, different changes like that have been prompting a lot more re-verification issues. We actually just met with Google on Friday where we brought this up again. They are aware that it's something that's really frustrating, but it does look like they're at least trying to take some steps to make it easier for you to understand why a video verification may have failed. Prior to this update, a lot of businesses were just kind of on their own to figure it out and had to resubmit and try again. Now at least you're getting an email with why what wasn't included, why your verification failed, so that you can try to go through this process. And so the key steps in verifying your business are showing the location of your business. You can capture things like street number signs, nearby businesses, landmarks, things like that. Especially if you're a service area business, it's nice to kind of have those options, right? Show evidence that your business exists. So, aside from obviously a physical location, but, branded work equipment, materials, services, products for sale, things like that. And then demonstrating proof of management. So, record yourself providing the service, showing business documents, things like that. Re-verifications are a pain, but at least Google is trying to help offer some insights into what you can do differently to help the verification process go smoother.
And last one before we get to the meat of things, last time I highlighted that Google Search Labs is doing an Ask for Me experiment with auto shops and nail salons. At the time, I was still in the waiting list, so I wasn't able to really show what's going on. So I wanted to give a quick insight for those that are in auto shops or nail salon type of businesses on what this looks like, but it also lets other service businesses know what Google is potentially planning. You can see here, manicure near me, when you use this feature right underneath the local pack, you get this, let me go a little slower here. You get this ask for me that appears. You can pick what service you'd like. You could pick what type of pedicure if you're picking that. What additional services you may want. And then soonest available, weekdays, weekends. So, and then it goes, how do you want to get a response, SMS or email? The same thing is happening with auto shops. Oil change specifically. This one's a little different. It goes through, the services you need, but it also will then go through like the type of vehicle you have, so you can send that along. And then it'll essentially do the same thing. But what I want to get to is once that goes through and once that's sent, we don't have any recordings yet of what it sounds like on the business side, unfortunately. But we do have a output of what the response is. And you can see auto service requested will contact you when they have an update. This one doesn't work on a Ford Escape. That's, I guess, what the person put in. This one unable to get information, but here's their number. And then this one gives a lot more information. And they also said their soonest available is anytime now. So this is the kind of information that this returns. It can be really helpful to customers. And it's sort of like what Yelp and some others are doing, right? You can put in what it is you need and you get some feedback on that. So it'll be really interesting to see the feedback Google gets from it and if they roll this out wider than just a test lab experiment.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely challenging for businesses to handle this at scale, right? I mean, I know it's intimidating, but I do think that it is the reality of what consumers expect. They want that like instant response. They want to be able to talk to somebody right now. And yeah, it's something I think we have to, as organizations, embrace head on as Google tries to roll out features like this. Like
Just
Mike,
curious, has anyone gotten one of these?
yeah, has anybody here
Or know if you've
done
gotten
with
it?
this? Have we gotten anything like this? I'm not seeing anybody say anything in the chat,
I
but
won't wait. If you do, if you think about it, just let us know in the chat. I'm actually very curious. So, but time-wise, because I know we're moving along, we've got a lot to cover. Let's get on to the prescriptive SEO.
keywords. Yeah, so I was really excited to talk about this today. I think, keyword insights are things that are, on one hand, incredibly valuable. On the other hand, very easy to misconstrue as direct success or, use as a signal on what's working or not working. And so it's kind of an art form to figure out how to dissect insights and use them to your advantage. So I wanted to go through some of the ways that we look at our keyword terms and how we kind of use them to help understand our performance a bit deeper. So Google made this available, last year, maybe a year and a half ago now. And thank God they did, where we are actually able to see and understand what keyword terms are driving traffic to your business listings. I think prior to making it available via API, you could go into the Google Dash and see this at like a micro level per location, but now it's available via API. So tools like SOCi make it easy for you to see at scale what kind of terms are driving traffic. And so these are not the terms that you're tracking, these are the terms that you are actualizing for. They are the terms that you are appearing for. And it can help you understand things like local brand demand, SEO health, so like non-branded keyword terms, what kind of visibility you have, success of your targeted keyword optimization, so like are your tactics working, and then really help you kind of dissect any spikes or declines and things like that. So we'll walk through how you can do that with these insights. And so the first one, we get asked all the time, why is my search traffic down year over year? What's going on? My impressions are down. I don't understand why. One of the first places that we turn is your keyword insights. Something that we're seeing a lot, and I know we've talked about this in the past in other SEO juice sessions, is what's happening under the covers with brand and non-brand search. For a lot of customers today, we're actually seeing their top keyword terms have a pretty stark decline for what Google sends us is called count, but it closely correlates to like an impression, right? So your impressions associated with your brand, agnostic of where you rank, is down. We're seeing that demand for brand search down, whereas we're seeing an increase in non-brand. And this is closely correlated, Mike, if you want to jump to the next slide, with some changing search behaviors. And also, Mike, feel free to cut me off at all. I'm just
Oh, no, go ahead. You're doing great.
so with changing search behaviors, as younger generations, come into adulthood, they have totally different pathways to searching versus some of the older generations. And in that is actually a decline in brand loyalty. 77% of Gen Z adults are willing to try new brands. They are not totally brand loyal. And so what that is doing is essentially changing how they search from including a brand tie to way more search in what it is specifically they're looking for, or that non-brand search behavior. And that is definitely evident in some of the keyword results that we've been observing.
And I would say too, if you're a big known brand, your top keyword, search keyword is probably your brand. Like there aren't a lot of people that are going, oh, I need to find a department store. Oh, what's this Walmart?
Yeah.
Right? Like people know what that is. So they're, depending on what your brand is, it's not surprising that that's your top search keyword. And it is good to pay attention to how many ticks you're actually getting. Like this brand said, hey, we're getting a lot fewer search queries. What's going on? Our impressions are down. And a quick look go, well, this is why, right?
Yeah.
And it was really easy to see when you started comparing
I
counts.
will say too, we don't have a slide on this specifically, but a lot of times we will take that information and bounce it off of like Google Trends.
Mm.
You can see the actual like demand for your brand term kind of shrinking. And oftentimes it's nothing that you guys are doing wrong or that businesses are doing wrong. It's just changes in how people are searching is really the root cause. But then this brings us to, all right, well, where do we find opportunities? How do I kind of dig through this, sift through this? Like Mike said, so many of your top keyword terms are going to be branded. So you might have to like jump down a little bit further and see if there are any terms that catch your eye. So for this example, this is a business that has boxing, it's a gym. And I do know that a lot of their locations do offer Mai Tai, but right now they're getting some impressions for it, but it's not as high as maybe they would want it to be. And so what I would do with this information is essentially sift through some of that middle of the road keyword information. I do this on Google Search Console a lot, inversely for like your website traffic. But now that we have it for listings traffic, dig through, look at kind of that middle of the road and identify certain terms that you're like, oh, I should try to get more credit for this. I should try to do more optimizations for this. Optimizations for this term. And, bounce it off of keyword tracking to understand maybe where you rank out. And then you can kind of build strategies off of this identification. We do have a question that says, is this report available in SOCi? Yep, it absolutely is. I saw Mike answered. It is within our listings tab, and you can pivot to insights, and the data is collected. We only receive it from Google once a month, so it's not something that's updated daily, and that's not on our end, that's on Google's end. Google only sends it to us once a month for the month prior. So you can look at that kind of roll up of metrics. And then next, am I appearing for non-branded keywords related to my products and services? So again, you can use this information to really dig through and understand how you're appearing for these terms. And in this example, again, you're seeing a dip year over year between branded down about 11%, but non-branded up about 10%. And these percentages are us essentially totaling that impression count and talking through some of those increases or decreases in those impressions. So,
And I will say with this particular example, the customer, their impressions are up, but their engagement was kind of flatter down. And so the fact that there's this branded versus non-branded, it makes sense. Now they're in competition for a non-branded keyword, and then it goes to that choice optimization, right? Now you need to be the best choice. And so they're being found for more non-branded terms, great, but now we need to, and so that covered that loss of branded search, but now we need to convert that more. And that
that's
comes from adding photos and all those other things.
That's a really great point, Mike. The more credit you get for non-branded, right? The more you rank for non-branded terms, the more competitive it becomes. You're not now just trying to show up for, whatever your brand name is. When you are in that non-branded space, you get there, and then it's about, okay, now that you're there, what do you do about it? Like Mike mentioned, how do you become the best choice? How do you optimize your listing to get chosen? I see a question. Is it better to do exact match or phrase match for branded keyword with PPC? I will be honest, I don't know that Mike or I are maybe the best resource to give recommendations on PPC optimizations. Apologies. I have some familiarity from past lives, but we primarily dabble in the world of organic, so I would not want to lead you astray with any type of recommendation that I might provide.
Okay.
And then the last one, or is it, this might be the last one, I can't remember. Are my targeted optimization efforts working? So again, if you take a certain action, you want to be able to go into your keyword insights and understand if it's moving the needle, if anything's changing or happening. And we actually have a really interesting case study of this where we were able to understand performance. So in this example, there was actually a Google post that we posted, and it was for respite care. Mike and I had back and forth before the SEO juice, and I'm like, I don't want to look stupid and mispronounce this. Respite care on September 18th, and ranking for related keyword terms spiked, and just within a few days of that post going live. And so being able to understand, like, okay, I took this action, and now I want to pivot and see what's happening for that specific term. And if you jump, it happened almost right away. So this post happened, what, in September, I think, right?
September.
And
Yep. So this is the ranking, and the ranking makes it seems like it just happened and then went away.
Yeah.
And then that's the end of it. But
it kept that authority for that term from that strategy. So just really, really great to see, in a great way to essentially check against your efforts. Is there a way to see offer post analytics? Ooh,
stay tuned. There's a question coming about this.
Honestly, I think this is the next section, right? Well, I guess I'll summarize and then
sorry, there is one more real quick. We've talked about this a bit.
Yeah, Don, we'll table your question because there's more on that coming. But last one, and we've talked about this a lot, so I won't spend a ton of time on it, but why are my map impressions spiking suddenly? What's going on with my performance? And everything else is remaining flat. Well, we've brought up a couple times that using this keyword data is great to understand if you are appearing for what we're dubbing as unrelated keywords, meaning that you are just appearing on a map next to these businesses or things that are related to these general keyword terms, and you are getting kind of credit for that impression. But it's not really somebody looking directly for your business. So these keyword insights can help you understand if that's happening and why that kind of dramatic increase or decline is occurring.
And one thing I noticed, which I've been using the Google Maps app a lot more, and there are buttons on the top for restaurants, gas, for, like some of these are just buttons at the top. So people are just hitting them. And it makes sense that if you're at a mall and you're looking for food, all of a sudden also other stores in the mall show up because they're nearby.
Yep, absolutely. To sum it up, keyword insights from Google can help you understand the why behind your performance. There are a lot of different ways to slice and dice the data to identify drops, measure success of your efforts, and then identify any type of unrelated terms that are skewing your metrics. But also it can be a great tool to identify opportunities. Go digging through that keyword data, find the middle of the road or the low-hanging fruit that maybe can shed light on things that you are getting credit for, but maybe not enough credit for. Maybe you want to boost it up a little more with a keyword optimization strategy. So
Especially as impressions in general are going down because Google's getting rid of local packs. This is a great way to identify wins, like really, really targeted wins.
absolutely. With that, we will jump to a quick poll, and that brings us to Don's question around, is there a way to see offer post analytics? So we have been given a really great opportunity to get a survey from Google directly on what kind of metrics um, we as customers want to see. Um, with that are Google Post metrics. So Google used to have Google Post metrics, but they, first off, when they rolled them out, weren't accurate, and Google even admitted that. And then eventually they sunsetted them. So right now it's kind of non-existent. So Google has asked us, and now we're asking you, what kind of metrics do you want to see? Of the options, we have Google Post metrics, photo metrics, metrics around social media posts, messaging insights, shares, saves, actions, is in like a sum up of all of the Google business profile actions, and then places topics list.
I added that one.
You did add that
There's
one.
if you have other ones that you don't see, feel free to drop them in the chat. I mean, I'm sure I
Yeah.
could fill a page with things. These are some of the ones that were top of mind and that some of them Google asked about. So, and we are providing feedback to Google on things that we think should be there. So we wanted to get your thoughts as well, so we could provide what actual people using Google want to see.
Yeah.
So, let's see what we've got. Post views number one. That's great.
Not surprising.
Yeah.
I have been dying to see some Google Post insights. But I agree on photos. Like using clicks on photos would be fantastic. More photo insights, please. Social media makes sense. Yeah, great responses.
All right. Well, moving on to the next one. I know we have about 20 minutes left. I want to get through this. This is actually super interesting. I know this seems like it's going to be dry, this anatomy of business profiles, social media links, but there's some really incredibly fascinating data that I'm gonna share that shows why everyone should absolutely be adding their social media links. So for those who don't know, in June 2023, Google finally added support via the API and in Business Manager for businesses to add their social media links. Before that, you had to add schema to your pages, hope they crawled them, hope they appeared, and hope they grabbed the right ones. There could even be a problem where they're grabbing the wrong one, and then you have to deal with Google trying to get them removed. When they added them, I was very excited because in my mind, Google doesn't add something for no reason, right? If they're adding these things, in my mind, they're probably looking for signals, social signals. For those who don't know where they appear, these little icons, they appear on desktop primarily, or at least on desktop. Social buttons can be found in profiles beneath the business description and post features in direct result, and in the local pack and find a result for places. So for those who don't know, if you're searching for like a restaurant or a car wash, you're getting Google's Places local pack. And if you're searching for, let's say, a gym or animal removal or window cleaning, that's a business's finder, and that is a little bit different. So right now it's only appearing in Places. On mobile, it's appearing at the bottom of the About tab for Places, businesses, and direct search. And again, it's not appearing for businesses or in the local pack or service finder or in map results on mobile desktop. So it's appearing in just a few places, just those buttons. And what Google says about them, though, is one of the things they say is share more about your business with social media links. That's the extent of it when it comes to trying to promote the idea of this on their help pages. But they give a couple answers for Q&A, just kind of giving some background on it. Businesses with associated links may find their social media posts surface on their profile automatically. We'll talk about that. You can add one link per social media site, which we've gotten these questions before. People want to know if they can add their local and their brand. Best to add your local if you have it, but different profiles can use the same link. So if you don't have a local version of something, you can use your brand version. So if you don't have a local X account, use your brand version. Google may still add social links automatically, but if they add the wrong one, you don't like what they're doing, edit them. And also you should just make sure it is the right one if they're adding anything. And unfortunately, performance metrics for social media links aren't available at this time. So that's why that was in that question there. So we don't know how many people are actually engaging with these buttons. Oh, am I freezing? Can you see me? Or okay, I seem to be okay. So SEO juice observation. So what have we observed? A couple things. These feeds began appearing in direct search results in mobile on January 2024. For those who don't know, that term about what is it? Social media posts may appear on your profile. We started seeing that happen last January. You can see it here. It is only appearing in direct search results on mobile. So you have to search the business directly, and you have to be on mobile, and then it appears like this. The feature doesn't always appear in the same order, which is another funky thing about this. You'll notice here it says reviews, social media, popular times. In this version, it's Q&A, and then updates, and then Google Posts. It may be highlighted at the top of the knowledge panel in direct search results when the content aligns with perceived search intent. So I think here I was looking for best painting classes in Lakewood, and Painting with a Twist came up as a direct search result. And right up at the top of their listing, we saw these social media updates. This was actually probably the best presentation of this that I've seen, right? I think this is a best case scenario. Someone does a search, they get you as a direct result, and then your social media appears really high up. The feature does not always appear, though, regardless of having a linked social account. So, if you have linked social channels with old and outdated content, you may not get highlighted at all. So you want to make sure that your content is fresh and new. And in October 2024, Google began highlighting posts from multiple social platforms at a time. So I think I noted this back in our SEO juice at the time. You can see now Google is highlighting Instagram and X and Facebook and a whole bunch of other things and mixing them together instead of just highlighting one channel. And you may say, okay, well, that's all great. So the button appears some of the time. Social posts only appear in direct search results way down on the page, maybe on mobile, maybe on not. Is the juice really worth the squeeze for all this? And to that, I say absolutely. An early test that we did indicates that adding your links to active social media profiles can have an effect on your search visibility and engagement, to which you may say, what? But it's true. We are doing a test in conjunction with Google to test this. And so far, things have been really great. For those who don't know, when Google launched this back last January, they said, we can't tell anyone about this feed. And so I said, great. Well, if I can't tell anyone, I need to give people a reason to add these links. And you probably have heard me talk about this before if you've been on here. But if you haven't, I basically asked them directly, what I've been saying to customers is if you want these links, you are probably evaluating signals from those links to look at that customer's authority, right? You're looking at experience through images and photos, expertise through posts, authority through likes and follows, trust through shares, ratings, all those kinds of things. And what we found is that seems to very much be the case. And what they said to me is I can assume that. I forgot that part. And it does seem to be the case. In this test we're doing with them, we're testing, we're trying to validate that signals from linked and active local social channels improve visibility and engagement in local search. So what did we find? And I know I'm going fast. I want to make sure we get all this before the end of the webinar. So what did we find? Well, we started with a test group. I will say that, a control group and a test group. Obviously a test group, but we had a control. And we wanted to make sure that their performance was pretty much identical, right? If you're doing a test, you want to kind of use apples to apples, not apples to oranges. And we found, except for the map impressions, everything was within a percentage when it comes to rises and falls, right? And that was all last year through October. The test started in November. Businesses, locations taking part in this test added their social links and started posting more. Now, to be fair, this customer we're doing this with are very active in social. And when this official case study comes out with Google, there'll be more information on that. But they are very active in social. So that is a big piece of this. But when they added their links and started to try and up that interaction, what we saw is something very different. Number one, I think as a brand, they got a lot of benefits from the updates, the algorithm updates in November, December. Probably we saw that in some rankings. But if you look at that, the ones that have their social channels linked and that are very active are starting to actually rise more, right? The difference is they're 5+ points ahead, percentage points. So they're getting not only more visibility, but more engagement. And we just got the numbers for February. As those who know who pay attention to GBP analytics, you know that Google's about 7 to 10 days behind, sometimes 2 full weeks behind. We finally got the data. And although things are down a bit in different areas, they are definitely not down as much. So while the test group is getting a little fewer impressions, search impressions, both of them, map impressions are up. They're up more when it comes to the test group. But engagement, for the control group, it's down a bit. For the test group, it's all up. This is huge. I was shocked by this, to be honest.
And we talk all the time about like conversion factors too, outside of just ranking factors. And so I think this makes it evident when we look at the impressions data, right, that it is being taken into consideration for as a ranking factor.
Right.
On top of that, the split in difference between the control and test groups for the actions, for the web clicks, the direction clicks, the clicks to call, those are your leads, those are your highest level indicators of, you know, getting something out of that impression, getting credit for it. And so whether it's, you know, building up for certain keyword terms and you're getting better ranking for lead-based terms, or it's literally just people are trusting your business more, you're linking more to social profiles, Google is able to advocate for you as that authority. You know, this is so telling that you really are building up that authority when you link to those social profiles.
I was absolutely amazed by this. And I do think a lot of it is driven by they have very active social channels too. So it makes sense. Google is seeing that action and converting it into some sort of authority when it comes to search. And people are seeing it too when they're seeing their social channels and all that linked. This on its own might be like is a revelation, right? I think. But wait, there's more. Um, if you've been on all our SEO Juice webinars, you're probably absolutely sick of hearing me talk about offer and event posts, but I discovered something fascinating yesterday. From our very first SEO Juice, this is that slide we talked about nearby events and deals. It was appearing in a quad pack. This started appearing last December, I want to say. At the time, I'm like, hey, you're a food and beverage business. You need to be taking advantage. It gives you lots of new opportunities to appear. I think in August, maybe later, Google updated this to a carousel, which made me think they're doubling down on this. Also, if you only have 3 posts, you can show 3. It like you don't need but with the quad pack, you need a minimum of 4. So I figured this was a way for them to adjust based on the number of posts they had. But then in November, they updated it more to include not just Google posts, but Instagram and Facebook and X and all these other posts. So the assumption at that point, I caught it in the wild at the time. This is that slide from that. The assumption was, well, Google isn't getting what they need from Google Posts, so they're reaching out elsewhere. And at the time, I speculated like, well, why are they selecting certain ones over others? Well, now I know why. Social posts are only appearing in the nearby an offer and events feature when links to those social profiles have been added to your Google business profile. So if we look here, ribs and kebab, there's an Instagram post. They have Instagram linked. We see, I should have picked easier to pronounce things. Shahanawaz restaurant, Facebook post, Facebook is linked. I did this with a bunch. Sushi near me, I took a look at all of the posts showing up. Sushi World, Instagram, Bamboo Terrace, Instagram, Sapporo Sushi, Facebook shows up. They only have Facebook, right? Like these are matches. I did another one, romantic restaurants near me, and same thing. Anytime there was an Instagram, you know. Oh, I put one district wine twice. That was coming from Google. But most of these, when they're Obviously, if you have a Google post, Google is giving preference to that. I will say that. But when you don't have it, Google is going to your linked channels to find this. I think this is fascinating. It gives more proof that Google is absolutely searching and your linked social channels in some way, and that having them linked is the key, right? I think this discovery is the key in the last one. You know, as soon as they link their social networks, everything went up because Google knows what to look at. Here, these posts are only appearing if those networks are linked. Link your networks. Absolutely, you should be doing this right away. For channels where you don't have a local profile, link your brand profile. Keep your social profiles active, build a following, prompt engagement by posting content that informs customers, answers questions, and provides value, i.e. promote offers and events, right? Everybody wants a deal, especially if you're in discovery, right? If you're in discovery, you're looking for a new brand, you want someone that's going to be able to do what you want, do it well, you know, have great reviews, but if you can get a deal in the mix too, that's great. I went through that very quickly, but Casey, do you want to add anything to that, or did I miss
No,
anything?
I think we're running low on time, but I think you did it justice. So I mic drop.
Well, we'll do this last bit really quick.
Yeah, we'll run through it super quick. So as far as some checkbox optimizations, just some things to be aware of, Google has added a few new business attributes. The food and beverage one really stands out to me. I am constantly looking for restaurants where there are high chairs available. If there are not high chairs available, I get myself out of there because I have two very rambunctious toddlers. And then department store has bakery. If you shop at Nordstrom, you know this one matters because a lot of them do have bakeries and coffee shops. Has bakery, sells flowers, has a pharmacy, sells prepared food. Nordstrom does that as well. Has repair services, things like that. So just some attributes to be aware of to help you further optimize your business listings.
Yeah, and no new Google categories this month, so quiet when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And lastly, I'll keep this quick, caught in the wild, some new features that I'm finding. This first one I actually wanted to do more of a write-up on. I didn't have a chance to, but for those who've been following this webinar, I think it was either last month or the month prior, we had a news update about the AI ask for me feature that was appearing in the Google Maps app. I still haven't seen that. It still hasn't appeared for me. I really think Google is testing that. But this I have seen pretty consistently, and others have as well, is Google has added this learn before you go feature, where Google is providing a bunch of questions already that people might have, and then you can also ask a question. And Google provides all the sources that it is grabbing things from. There's also this know before you go, which is not a question thing, but maybe things that people might be interested, things that they find in reviews. Tour availability, which I don't know why they have that, but you know, things like amenities and other such stuff. I will probably go into a lot more detail in our next session as I dig into this more. But what's really great about this is you can find out what Google knows about your business and where it's getting that information from. And if you ask Google a question, I said this before when we had the Ask For Me feature about how you can ask questions and find more about your business. But since that feature isn't showing up for everyone, and this is the one, like, get on your mobile. It's only showing up on showing up on mobile in direct search results. So, you know, if you have a mobile emulator or just on your mobile phone, go on, ask some questions, search yourself directly. Yeah, more to come on this one because I think it really is a great look under the hood at what Google knows about you.
Very cool.
And lastly, just something really funny and kind of creepy. Remember the early days of Google Maps and how bad some of the AI, you know, like some of those renderings looked. This is, okay, this is good. This is, let's see if I can actually make this bigger. This immersive overview I found for a lot of kind of activity-based businesses. This is where Golf and Stuff. For those, really quick quiz, anyone know why Golf and Stuff is famous? It is the location of the mini golf in Karate Kid. This was used as the location. But when you zoom in, it gets even creepier. It's just really bad digital rendering. There was something I saw a few weeks back. I think it was maybe, I don't remember, somebody in the SEO industry showed an immersive view that went into the store and was a lot more photo generated. I haven't seen that feature, and that looked really nice. This does not.
That does that looks like a bad Sims
Yeah.
gameplay. Well, that is it from us for this month. I do want to make you all aware that next month we will be shifting our date back to September, what is that, the
Oh,
16th? So the
and
third,
not see you next year. I need to update that, obviously.
but
Not
yes,
moving back that far.
for April, yeah, for April, we will be shifting to the third Wednesday of the month, not the second, to make room for another really great webinar series that SOCi is hosting. So we will see you then.